Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. There is a chat box on your right side. Can you write down if you hear me? See me and hear me. On your right side, there is a chat box or a conversation box. Can anybody write down there if you can? Perfect. If you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Great. So during this meeting, if you have question, I will give you time to write down here in the chat box, or if you're happy to open your mic, then again, the reason I ask you to close your mic because mics is because sometimes there is background noises and I don't want anybody get distracted. So I'm going to share with you guys a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to do today. Can one of you write down if you can see the PowerPoint right now? Can you see the PowerPoint 7012 SMM Introduction and Overview of Module? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So if you can see, we can go ahead and start our session, okay? So today we are gonna overview the module in itself. So as you know, the code is 7012 SMM. It's about your postgraduate dissertation. So some basics. Good morning, everybody. Nice seeing you all. I'm your module leader. My name's Anahita, and I will be taking over the module, the leadership, and that means most of you have to come to me in case you have any issue with the administration part of your module. And the questions about your dissertation itself has to go toward your supervisors. So this module has all of the students that are in the School of Marketing and Management and Marketing. So there's students of HRM, Marketing and SAM, and writing a postgraduate dissertation is not about which subject you are. If you know the basics, then you should be able to actually go through the same process, all of you. So everybody keep asking me how many I have to write, how many words I have to write, what it is. So the information all are going to be available through Aula page. Later on, I will show you how to navigate information in Aula. But the requirement is 12,000 words. Unless you are doing a consultancy project, and that in that case the company that you're working will ask you for whatever they need, and that is in addition to your 12,000 word dissertation. If you are doing internship, each internship organization will require something different. So some will want the consultancy project, some want a separate report. So this is for you to negotiate with them. It has nothing to do with me and this module. The teaching in this module will took over 3 or 4 days. If you see, it's going to be 3 days and another session on Monday, next Monday. And all of the sessions are going to be here on Microsoft Teams. All of them will be recorded, but I highly insist that all of you come to the live session literally, because you can ask questions, and sometimes something come and pop up in your mind, and right there you can ask. Plus there's going to be a lot of nice speakers coming and tell you how to develop parts of your dissertation. For example, today we have a session on topic that is very important. Tomorrow we have a session on your ethic and ethical application. That is, it's all the step by step what you're gonna do, and this will not be taught later. So if you have a question about the ethic application and stuff like that later on, you have to just approach your supervisor and wait for the appointment, etc., etc. But there you can just simply ask questions and make sure that you have all the information you need to submit. So the teaching schedule will be going through today a little bit of introduction. Today again we're gonna go through proposals and research title, research design and philosophy. Tomorrow we're gonna go through ethics, literature review. Today in the afternoon I will also have a session with you on literature review. Tomorrow in the afternoon we're gonna have a person coming from library to tell you how to search, which is gonna be a very useful session. We're going to have the day after methodology, data collection, qualitative and quantitative analysis. Depends on which one you want to do. Some of you may want to do both. And then we will conclude the module. And this may change a little bit, but you will have information about all of this in the Aula page in a teaching kind of way. So all these topics will be covered. One very important thing. So up to now, anybody has any question about the teaching topics? Just one of you write. I mean, if you have any question, there is on your up screen, there is a raise your hand. Is in the sign up and hand. So if you have any question in the middle, raise your hand and I will give you time, guys. Other than that, so there are key dates, and I have to be serious here. If you fail to meet this deadline, it is going to be, it's not non-negotiable. You're going to have to get, unfortunately, a 0 for that. So it's not going to be very pleasant. And therefore, make sure that you actually meet all these deadlines. So the research proposal has to be submitted by 6 o'clock on 8th of October to your supervisors by your email. You need to make sure that, because if you have that, so you don't have to worry, it's already approved that you have submitted in your email sent box. Ethical approval, sorry, there is somebody. I don't know what's happening here. There is a person, I think, who has difficulty entering, so he's calling me on a separate line. So I'm sorry, I get distracted. So the ethical approval is a very important part, because it's a form that you have to submit online, and it's about details of your data collection. But without having a research proposal, you're not able to finish and complete the ethic approval. So your ethic approval deadline will be to submit is 9th of October. So by 8th of October, you should have at least 2 sessions with your supervisors. And then by 9, you should already have submitted the process. I'm sorry if anybody, somebody said hello. Hello. So making sure that from this week, from today, you're gonna have actually starting writing your research proposal. Now, if I go to the Aula page, guys, can you see the Aula page that I have put on the screen? Can you see the page that I'm sharing with you? No? Okay, let me share my screen then, because I want you to see. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see now, guys? Okay, now you should be able to see. Okay, this is my screen, so you should be able to see. So this is your Aula page. And in the Aula page, you right now have access to, you can see my welcome video, you can see the module essential, and under the module essential tab, there is the module guide, which will give you all the information that you need. So there is the link to our Teams group. There is your supervisory list. There is the supervision process. If you have any question, what should I expect from my supervisor? This is the student and supervisor expectation. So make sure that you read this. There is a module guide, and there is the guideline on dissertation standard and research process. This will help you to say, some of you will tell me, oh, what I'm supposed to do, what the chapters should include. They're all here. So you should be able to have all your questions answered here. That's why I will not be answering individual questions that you can already find in Aula. So most of your question is on module guide, on their module essentials. You're gonna have to see the assessment on the assessment, again on the module essentials. You will be able to see the assignment, so the assessment brief, and some information about plagiarism and academic misconduct, just to make sure that you're not going to go through that by accident. So there's going to be, again, an introduction, as you see, a welcome and introduction. In your introduction, there are some activities if you would like to do. The links to all the presentations are here. So you're going to have link to all the presentation that is going to take place each day. And then you have your section. So the section 1 is about research, title, and proposal. And if you go to your research title and proposal, there is one dissertation topic file to help you, choose the topic. And there is the research proposal form. So this form has to be filled and sent to your supervisors by 8th of October. By the time you have this form, you should already be able to submit with the information that are in the research proposal. You should be able to submit your ethics as well. So let's go back to our presentation. So I give you a few minutes to ask me if Aula is clear to you guys. Yes, okay. Can you see all the files that I told you? Okay. So if you have access to all of that, so make sure you download them, you read them, and if you have questions, then later you can ask. That's great. So let me share again with you to my PowerPoint. Okay. Okay. Can you see the key dates, guys, on the screen? Okay, so these key dates that you can see on the screen are very important for you to remember, because failure to submit your ethics, and guys, this is out of my control, is a faculty kind of rule. So if you fail and you come to me and say, I could not submit, is that okay? Or can you help me? I cannot help you. This is serious. So make sure by 9th of September you have submitted. And all of you require ethics submission for going ahead. Otherwise, you will get 0 on your dissertation. So finally, on 7th of December, you're supposed to submit your dissertation. So why the difference between ethics submission and approval is this much? Because usually when you submit your, hopefully, if you have already had a session with your supervisors and on ethics and proposal and everything's okay, you will get approved right away, usually in 1 or 2 days. But there are cases where students get rejected because they are receiving what they have said it's wrong, or they did not provide enough information, or the information is confusing or is not right, so they get rejected. So the form go back to students, so the student has to redo, because there are comments there what you have to now, improve. So you have to redo and come back again. So it's a process. So the sooner you submit, the better it's going to be for all of you to go ahead with your dissertation, with the, I would say, with the peace of mind. Okay. So a little bit of overview of a dissertation. So this module teach you how to research at the dissertation level. And there is a standard to that. So there are a couple of mistakes you cannot have, like basic referencing, mistakes or errors. Structure of your work needs to be completely professional. All the things that must be, like the ethic approval, like the, for example, executive summary, everything has to be already in the structure of your qualification. Is non-negotiable. There should be a level of a standard, and if that is not going to take place, then you will not be able to pass. So a dissertation is not a literature review. It's not a report you're going to do. It's not an essay. It's going to be a process that you have to go through. There are certain questions you have to answer. So it's more complicated. Some people would ask me, oh, I want to do secondary. Is it good? It's not like primary. Primary and secondary research are as good as each other. There are different process to secondary and primary, but if you do a dissertation well, it doesn't matter if it was a secondary research or primary research. A very important thing is that people don't forget that you need to read around the topic. By the end of your dissertation, you should know more about your dissertation topic than anybody else. So that's very important that you read around it. In your dissertation, there's a simple process. You ask a question in the beginning of your dissertation, and then you have to answer this question, but with providing a critical argument. Lectures that are going to be happening here, the same for HRM, marketing, and SEM students. But if you go to different sections on their aula, for example, for the proposals, you will see there are samples of videos and, forms that I have prepared. Sometimes I would say an HRM sample, a marketing sample. And you can see all of them, but I try to help you guys to a little bit navigate things through your own subject area. And then you may ask me, oh, my topic should be about this. I mean, your topic should be around the subject area and the course that you're taking, but research is research, no matter what subject area you are in. That's why the lectures here are equal for everybody. If you have any problem, you can speak to me, especially if it's about your supervisors, if some things happen, if you're not happy, or if there is a communication problem or appointment, anything regarding that, you can talk to me. I'll try to resolve your issues. Except for timetabling and extensions, this has nothing to do with me, and you have to try to resolve it. Now, timetabling, I do not think you're going to have problem, because we're going to have online sessions, so everything will be recorded anyway. The reason I'm asking you to be here, because when presenters are going to come and they're going to present things, if you have question about your subject area or topic you have already chosen, or you've chosen something you're not sure, right there you can ask and you can get clarity, which is very important. Assessment requirement, as you know, dissertation consultancy, as I said, 12,000 words. The deadline is 7 of December, and submitted via Turnitin only. Any question up to now, guys? Is there any question? If you want to write down. If you do not want to write, there is a hand there. You can just click on the hand. I know somebody raised the hand, and I can just ask you to open your mic and you can ask question. Any question until now, guys? Okay. If not, let's move on. So your research proposal, you should be preparing this as soon as possible. Now I would tell you, you're gonna have, all of you have access to the schedule of today's session. And today's session, after me, there's gonna be a session about processes of research. And then the second one will be about topics, how to choose your topics. So if you have your topics, or you are wandering around the topic, hopefully by in the end of today, you will know if the topic is good enough, and you can choose around. So your research proposal should be prepared as soon as possible. You've got the form, so try to fill out all the information that you have. And if you are not preparing your proposal, you're not able to submit your ethic application, and therefore you will fail right there. Ethic application has requires all the information of the research proposal. So you have to be clear of, okay, what my topic, what are my objectives, what I'm gonna read around, and then what are going to be my methodology, who I'm gonna ask questions from. So when I talk about critical thinking, what do I mean by critical thinking? So it's just a little bit more complicated than the normal way of thinking. It's not a simple way of thinking. You have to think about all kind of possible answers and seeing all the point of view of different people. So for example, if I would say, what is the boiling point of water? What is the moon? How do you know what you know? You may say, I know about research, I know about finding a topic, but how do you know you know? Then you have to, go around, how do I know? How should I answer this question? Because sometimes some questions seems they're very easy to answer, but when you go deep into answering it, it has a lot of perspectives to look at, and it's not that easy. Question like, how do you know what you do not know? How important is it what you don't know? What are the implications for research of what you don't know? For example, if you're doing about a research, you like the topic, but you have no idea, you have to start reading around. And what about the topic that you think you know? And you start doing this critical thinking, and you say, oh, maybe I don't know enough. So how do you make a decision or claim truth if you don't know everything that you need to know? For example, at the end of your dissertation, if you say, I have an answer to this question, how sure you are, how much sure you are that this is the truth, the true answer to that question. So for that critical thinking, so dissertation is not just the essay. Dissertation is for you to say, okay, this is the things that I can know from the literature, and these are the things that I'm going to ask to do a proper research and investigation about. And you're going to use a lot of theories, and you may ask me, well, what it means, theories? There is a video link here, and I'm going to put the PowerPoint and the presentation that I have recorded today there for you. Take a look at this video later, just to understand what is the difference between a scientific law and a theory. And there are things that we may say because it's so obvious, and there are things that we may actually think about and say it probably is right because it's just a theory that I have. So to know the difference really help you to have a better understanding when I talk about theory. Another important issue, you have to make sure in your research you're not biased. Are you free from bias? And what is bias? For example, some ideas about females and males. Males are more like this, females are more like this. In the research, you should not put any difference between people who are going to be your sample or under your study in terms of their gender. They should be equal. Religion, culture. Even if you think, oh, that answer was not what I expected because he or she was from this certain religion. Doesn't matter. You're doing a research, and eventually you can say 20% of people who answered this were Muslim, or for example were Christian, or etc., etc. But you cannot be biased. You cannot say, I will only go ask these people, unless your research question really requires you. At the same time is age. Some people say, oh, that person I don't like looks like a boyfriend or who dumped me, or girlfriend who dumped me. So you have this kind of bias toward people from different age group, different culture, different types, and etc., etc. So how make sure you don't, bias don't affect your research. So there are some 3 videos that I put here. It's very interesting for you to take a look at what is bias. How can I not be biased? You know what I mean? I would give you an example. For example, if I teach in classroom and people are on their mobile phone, I would just assume nobody's listening, right? Because they're in their mobile phone. But what if in their mobile phone, for example, they are just looking at the slides of my presentation as well as when they're hearing me? So I can't be biased in deciding who is listening or who is not listening to my lectures. And that's a sample of bias. So just read through the bias and see if that's something that you have, you may face during your research. An important part is when you're doing your research is your philosophical viewpoint. So you have many methods to do research, collect or analyze data, but this all depends on the purpose of your research, right? I may say, I want to ask many people about their perception of something. I want to do a questionnaire. That's the philosophical view that I have. It requires me to ask a quantitative question through survey. Sometimes you're going to ask people more deep question. You're going to go more deep on their beliefs, their understanding of something. And so you may need to do a qualitative interview with them. So it's about the question you're actually asking. And then there are a lot of versions of truths. Truths to different people means different things. So making sure that you have all this complication in your mind when you're dividing. So how to actually study what is philosophical point of view. You really need to go through the a research method books for that. And you're gonna have also lectures today and tomorrow about philosophical viewpoint in research. So it's important that you make sure that you know what you're standing up. So what is philosophical standpoint is to deal with much more details now than later. So before you go ahead and do all your research and then get confused, you have to define what questions and what kind of philosophy you're going to approach, how you view the world, knowledge, truth, and reality. You and your friends near you is completely different. And if you want to know more, there's a video here I have uploaded for you to go and make sure that you see that later on today. So a very important things for you to start doing is start thinking now about the subject you want to research, read around the subject area, talk to staff members that are, most of you should be talking with your supervisor, but if you have a staff member, a staff member that is, accept to have a chat with you over Teams or any other app, please feel free to do that, because you need to start to finalize your research question. So to review, let's go through what processes you have to go through. So the first thing will be you have to design your research. So research design, and about research design, Natalia today, later after me, is going to have a lecture. You're going to talk about your proposals. After lunch break, James will be talking about proposals. Your supervision, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it today. Ethical approval and a time frame. So because you got more or less 12 weeks to submit your dissertation, how fast you have to prepare everything. Guys, any question up to now? Okay, so let's continue. A structure of dissertation. So the first question many of you ask, what should be in my dissertation, the word count, etc., etc. There is not a word count in each chapter. I cannot come and tell you, write this many words for introduction, this many words for lecture review, because research are different. I would tell you that you need always to start with an abstract, and usually you write the abstract at the end of your research. but your dissertation structure should start with an abstract. So you always leave the abstract for the end. So you start with an abstract saying what this dissertation was about, what kind of a method you used, and finally what kind of a decision or findings you had. Your introduction should be around the topic that you're going to talk about. Usually an introduction is about importance of what you're studying, importance of the question for example, I'm just going to give you an example. If you're talking about sustainability and environmental issue in the area that you're, for example, in anything about marketing or for example event planning or etc., you may say the importance of environment, the importance of sustainability, or the lack of existence of a good policy. And for all of this, you need references. And you're going to say, that's why I'm going to do this. You have to have a rationale behind why you're choosing this title, why you're doing. Just, I like this title, that's not enough. It interests me, that's not enough. You're supposed to have a proper reason why you choose a certain topic, because that topic is important for the society, for the community, for the etc., etc. Then we have our literature review. So in the literature review, you're going to go around previous studies, theories, frameworks, and define what has done before, what has been said before. And in that, if you're done a very good job, you should come out with a gap in the knowledge. That means what is missing. So around this area, they've been done studies, what has not been done, and you're gonna reference that, and you can tell me, I'm doing this research because in the literature, even though there are studies in the area, they can be more specific, they can be done in my country, they can be done in this context. So that's the gap in the literature has to be defined. Then you move on to your methodology, and the methodology should go around if you're using your qualitative, quantitative, what kind of a philosophy you're using. Is it questionnaire? Is going to be how you develop your questionnaire. If it's interview, what kind of a question you're asking and why. And then your sampling size. Who did you ask this question from? When this happened? And then eventually, what kind of a analysis you're going to do to analyze this data that you have collected. And then you move on to your findings, and that's very important because in the findings you have to show the result of the analysis that you make. If it's an interview, how people said something, how do you analyze that? Did you put them in the code? Did you use coding, and what this code present? If that was a quantitative, you use a software such as SPSS. So what are the numbers? What these numbers present? Eventually you go to your analysis. That means you put your first question, your research question, and you start to answer the questions that you ask in the beginning by the data and analysis that you find. And eventually you conclude and recommend. And usually in the conclusion and analysis, you have to say, look, that you have to bring back your literature review and say, previous studies found this kind of answer, and my answer now provide a further knowledge, or provide either your answer, the question that you ask, maybe come up with a different kind of answer, or maybe equal to the past research. So you have to define that. The findings of my research is in line with the previous research. But however, it's important because it has a further demonstration to for example, this topic in the area. Or my findings prove a contradiction with the previous research, and why the reason is. So that's kind of a conclusion you have to make. And then the recommendation is that you have to come up with some detail guidelines or advice to people who works in that area, governments, communities, etc., etc., and also academic who are working in the area. What is your recommendation? And then you should have your reference list. There are appendixes as well, because if you have questionnaire or you have interviews, etc., etc., you can put the questions and the list of that in there. But eventually, that's it. Any question up to now, guys? Okay, let's move on. You're gonna have a session today about your research methodology chapter. I think it's tomorrow, but about research philosophy. You're gonna see a lot of different kind of terminology that will not be very familiar. You may get confused, and you may say what this means. So you're going to hear positivism, realism, inductive, deductive, and then etc., etc. So it's all about philosophy. They call this a research onion, and you can find more on research onion later on in YouTube and everything. But tomorrow in a session, in the afternoon session, Dr. Mujahid will be exploring this research onion. So it's very important that you attend that session. So it's gonna be about a simplifying kind of method for you to understand what kind of a research philosophy approach and then eventually methods you're going to develop. And most of you will get a benefit from understanding the process, not just follow and do. Understanding the research process will help you a lot in future. If you want to go to work for anybody, and it's an important process to know, because they would ask you to do research on certain topics, or if you want to do more, go toward your PhDs, etc., etc. So take a look at these, and remember that tomorrow we will have a session on exploring philosophies and research methods and approach. So make sure that you attend these sessions. So designing your research, how to decide, aspect of research design and conceptual factor. Again, you have to go back here, and then you have to see what you're going to do. But to go back here, you need to have a better understanding of this. So it's very important that you complete all the 4 days, 3 and a morning session, so 3.5 days of the workshop series, making sure you have knowledge of all these terminologies, what they actually mean. So but if you say, okay, if I know all of this, how do you decide? It depends. It's based on your research questions, sometimes based on your philosophy, sometimes it's the context, is the situation. For example, if the pandemic happened, you should have your class online. You can't have it face to face, for example. And many of the students, because of the context, that situation they have to adjust to the situation to do research. There is nothing wrong about that. So if you cannot have face-to-face interview, for example, and that's the situation that is, based on your ability, you have limited time and limited money. So it's not that you can just go around the world and ask questions. So that's also affect your research design. And sometimes there is opportunity, for example, somebody coming to an area that is an expert, and you take that for granted and you ask them some certain question. So you have to always have these things in mind, that there are many things that can affect your research design. The same as your philosophy and approach. And I'm not going to go through this now one by one, simply because you're going to have a complete session on all of this, but I will put links and videos regarding all of those for you later on if you want to have more information. So when we talk about strategies, however, most of you gonna end up with doing survey, case study, or usually an interview, simply because the type of research that we do in School of Management and Marketing, the type of topics we have usually is less dealing with action research and experiment, and more to deal with questionnaire and that sort of research method. Time horizon as well is something that people used to do, but I'm not sure if we can do. It has two different kind of part. First is cross-sectional, which is you start to measure the outcome of an experiment at the same time to different people. You give different people, if you remember, there was a video some times ago going around social media. They give chocolate to the children or some kind of a cupcake, and they said, oh, this cupcake can stay in front of you, but don't eat it. I go and I come back in 5 minutes and eat it. There is a camera, and they see if that child will eat it or will not eat it. And that's a cross-sectional. At the same time, they see what the different children will do. And longitudinal, that we cannot be doing it because we only have 12 weeks to finish your dissertation. So is that you look at a subject for over a period of time. Sometimes researchers research families and children from when they born until they are 18 years old. So this sort of studies exist, but we are not able to do that. So one thing that is very important, especially for you guys, because you're going to have limited time, who is your sample? Who are the people you're going to ask questions from? And then you may say, I want to go after the marketing strategy expert. Some of you may say, I want to go to companies and ask their staff about the human resource management or strategies they have. And it's important, who are these samples. You define. And sometimes people, I want to ask people, and then I want to ask managers, and then I want to ask the other one, making sure that you're not doing too much, and then you're not getting too many answers from different samples, because then you have to analyze all of them like together. So it's not that I'm going to ask this one. You have to relate all of these important findings that you find. So try to make it simple and straightforward. That's my advice to you. There are going to be different sampling ways for you. How should I find my sample and population? And in that, there's going to be a session on the third day, and that will go through all of the sampling methods that you can use to sample, to use for your survey or for your interview. Making sure you attend that session, please. And this is all about sampling. About data collection, also you have to have in mind, some people get very excited and say, I want to ask many questions, I want to ask many people. Your time is limited, so if you want to do interviews and questionnaire, remember that you are dependent on people that have to agree with you, have to sit with you, have to share the information with you. So make sure that you have sort things out and you put it in your mind in terms of time, how much time you have. And when it comes to questionnaire, also developing questionnaire, you know that you cannot go to different companies. There is only an university approved online survey that you can use to send your service, and that information will be shared with you later on. Timing is really important, making sure you have the time in your mind. And then you have to analyze this. Guys, I want to be realistic. Some of you that may want to do SPSS is a software, is not that easy to do, so some of you may need help. So make sure that if you need help, you think about it before, of those who know SPSS and can help you. Or you can get help from people who are expert and again can sit with you and help you out in working out the analysis. Otherwise, there are a lot of self-guide and YouTube videos and stuff like that can teach you how to do analyzing data. Some of you may do content analysis, means that you're going to do secondary research. You're going to just read information that exists and do that. And also remember that all of this, you have to choose based on your ability. If you don't think that you are able to analyze things from a species, you find it too difficult, maybe you need to have another way of data analysis and data collection. So think about your circumstances and try to find things that is easier for you. I'm not saying just easy because it's easy, but it's doable, it's realistic. So I give you a little bit of like 10-minute break, guys, and then after that we can again continue. Is that okay? get a cup of tea, because I think it was too much information at one. Organize your mind, see if you have any question, and we're gonna go back in few times, and we're gonna have. I'm not gonna leave the session. I'm just gonna turn off my camera and my mic. And in now is 9:46, 45. 5 minutes to 10, I will be here, guys. Hello everyone, I'm back. So there is a question, excuse me, madam, where can we get the PPT you shared on the screen? So every session that you attend, you're going to have on Aula page, if you go to Aula page, I'm trying to share I'm going to share my screen and go to Aula page. So if we go to Aula page and you see intensive online session 1. So today we had session 1. So here is my session. Under this, I will put the live session link as well as the PowerPoint after the session is finished. So you will have all the information here. So and then we have this next session with Natalia for the all the approaches to research that I talked to you about. Again, after the session finish, I will have all the links down there. So you can have all the information here. And I should let you know that I will be monitoring attendance. And this monitoring will go to the school management and your course directors, simply because it's very important that you know that first of all support existed for all of you and it's compulsory for all of you to attend. So if you know somebody that is not attending, or you know your classmates don't have access, please help them out to join the session. So for now, if there is no question, let's go and I want to go back to our slides. Okay. Can you all see the slide, guys? Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's go through the part of 1 of your proposal. So your title, a sample of your title. Look at this. A comparative analysis of a student's learning style in the UK higher education. It can be investigating an example of investigating the impact of, for example, pollution in something, or for example, examining decision-making process of buying, for example, buyers of technology or buyers of supermarkets. It's just a title that more or less is going to be concerned and focus on the area that you want to focus. Now, some people make really long topics. Some people make really broad kind of topics, and it's getting difficult what they exactly are doing a study out. So it's important that you all choose your topic wisely, simple, straightforward. The objective statement is about breaking down the research into questions. For example, what style of teaching is on offer in the UK higher education? What are the learning style of students' culture? Is there a relationship between style of teaching given and preferred learning? Answering each of the question will answer the research question. Usually, for a master dissertation, you should have minimum of 2 or maximum of 4 research question. You don't have to answer many questions or only one question. Try to make it, because the more you break it down to simple question, the more obvious it is for you how and easy for you to move on with your research. Then objective statement. So what people usually do is that first you have a very overall aim. The aim of this research is to study this and that, and then you break that down to research question. So for example, in this statement, you said, what are the learning style of students' culture within UK higher education? And there are 3. It's actually break down to 3 parts: identify different cultures, obtain rhetoric on learning style, and obtain reality primary data on learning style. So you have to see your research question, then you have to define your aims and objectives or research questions. So in your research question, you have to also have to think about who are the key authors in your field. For example, if you're going to study marketing and, for example, relationship between marketing and, for example, online marketing on, imagine a certain kind of industry. Imagine, I would say, for example, beauty product. Then you have to see who has done research in that area about online marketing, and in beauty area, beauty products. And then eventually you can get, there are enough authors, very good. If there are not enough authors, then you can see about, for example, products for women or cosmetics, for example. So you just try to bring it up and then try to see who are the key authors, who are the people who write in the area, what are the key models and theories in their field. So if you read the work of these authors, you will come out with models and theories that they use for their research, and you can use more or less the same models and theories and examine them. And what are the main arguments, what they search. Look guys, the research, doing a research is a very broad thing. So you can choose one topic and find 100 different angles to look at that topic. So you have to see what are the topics that has been under investigation, in relation to what you have chosen, what has been done. So the mistakes that some people do is, first, what they do is that they go for a topic that's been overstudied. That means many people have been studied. There are all the answers, and they want to do again. That has not much value. And some people, they do the opposite. They go and find a research topic that is so rare and not being studied on it, and they struggle to find related publication about it. So that's also not. You have to use a topic that has been studied a little bit, but has more space for more investigation, or you need to look at that topic from a different angle or in a different destination, for example. Then we've got, you have to define your research design, either you want to do primary research or secondary research, and your style and strategy. So in your research proposal, you should know more or less your approach, your data collection method, and if you want to do qualitative, quantitative, you need to know, because you need to do your ethics. But more or less, you need to have an idea of what you're supposed to know. So if you open your proposal it's not from Moodle now, it's in Aula. If you go there, you fill in what you can do, continue to fill in the form. So now I'm gonna give you, because we have some kind of, we still have like, I'm going to have to finish this presentation, and then we can together try to do an exercise of your proposal. An example of a research question is the role of line managers in performance manager, developing a strategy at some, for example, company, level of job satisfaction and any other company, linking job role with organizational strategy, improving absence management. And these are about HRM for students who are from HRM. It's just examples for you to know what kind of a question you need to ask. And this can be remitted to marketing and management, analyzing ticket prices, attendance, marketing strategy for sometimes some people they want to examine a marketing strategy to achieve some kind of guidelines. Leadership style, for example, our leadership is culturally bound. Analyzing new tools for improving customer experience online and offline. Ethics in mega events, HRM, advertising, etc., etc. So these are the type of question that you can ask. And remember, any question you may be interested on, then you look at it and you say maybe it's too broad, then you can take them to little question, more specific question. But that will be your supervisor that will help you with. Okay, supervision. Until now, is there any question, guys, about proposal? I'm going to give you a few seconds to put your minds together and see if there is any question regarding Another question, do I speak so fast? And you want me to speak a bit more slowly? Let me know, guys, okay? Okay. If nobody's asking question, let's go to about supervision. So now you may ask me what my supervision is going to do. So literally, I'm as a module leader, I'm in charge of the deadline, telling you the processes, making sure that you've got the teaching that you require, and helping you with submission, etc., etc. So I'm going to be writing to you regularly, weekly, and you're going to have to hear from me a lot. And usually I will have during the semester some live sessions when I will go through things that you need to be doing. Just I will be working as a reminder for you guys. Then we've got supervisors. Supervisors, they will start from during few weeks. When you have your don't worry about it because you already have been allocated supervisor, so you don't have to worry about that. What you have to do is that make sure that your proposal ready. Some people make the mistake, some students, that they think their supervisor is responsible to tell them everything. This is your master dissertation is an individual project, so your supervisor is going to be acting only as a guide to tell you what you're doing right or wrong. So every 2 weeks, you need to meet your supervisor and make sure that this has been requested. This is your responsibility to make the appointment. And the meeting should be hopefully around the time that you and your supervisor agreed. Any issues regarding the supervisor, if there is any kind of problem, speak to me or your course director. If you don't tell us, we cannot help you. And some of you may write dissertation, send it to your supervisor and say, tell me if it is good or not. You only can get detailed information about your one chapter of your supervisor. So supervisor cannot come and give you line-to-line comments on each line of your dissertation. They can give you detailed comments on one chapter, but for the rest of the chapter, and then you can choose that chapter, but for the rest of the chapter, what they do, they will give you general comments, and you need to follow that. So each work is marked twice. So when you submit your work, the mark will be worked first by your supervisor and then by another colleague, another supervisor. So they will second mark it, and then we will make sure that an external examiner will also check your mark. And in the case that even 2 markers, that means your supervisor and another marker, are not agree, we can always request a third marker. But just have in mind that whatever then the third marker said, we cannot change. So we do the process quite fairly. So you don't have to worry about, if I'm going to be marked fairly. I will tell you, you will be marked fairly. So in your ethics, you're supposed to have your research design, data collection, analysis, and all the ethical issues and any additional documents that if you wanna collect data from people, you need consent for, and you don't have to worry about the details of these because all of them will be available on our page. And also tomorrow you're gonna have a session with Dr. Benoit, which is an expert on ethics, and will tell you all the details. Only I request you, please make sure that you attend that session. So in the conclusion, there is no one way to design a research. You may have the same topic, or more or less the same topic, you and another friend, but you may have different approaches. It's absolutely fine as long as you define, you have justified the approach that you choose, and usually that's done by having a proper research method book and follow all the things by proper referencing. And it isn't a matter of right or wrong. There should be a rationale for design. As I said right now, start reading around your chosen subject and start your research design. So we've got suggested reading. Tomorrow at 3:15, there's going to be Miss Becky Collins coming from library to tell you how to access anything that you like. If you have any question about searching, library, etc., make sure you're in that session and ask questions. She will be happy to answer you guys. So now I'm gonna stop sharing. Do you see me, guys? Can you see me or share content? Okay. Somebody asked, can we use the proposal? Can we use the proposal you mentioned? No problem. What's this way? Okay. So again, I see that we are going back to questions that are some basics. So I'm going to share my screen for that question. Give me a minute. So I'm gonna, do you see the Aula page, guys? Do you see the Aula page I have shared? Yes, okay. If you see the Aula page that I share, if you go to Module Essential and go to Module Guide, you see the name of your supervisors here, Supervision September, Supervision List. So your name should be here. If for any case your names are not here, then you can write to me. So what is going to be happening in this module guide? You see it's me, my contact email, a link to our Microsoft team group where you can ask questions and I always answer. So you can ask question in public, not private message, please, in public. So the question that I answer can be also something that your students, your other classmates can see, maybe it's their question. Supervision list can be found in this Excel file. So you can see who are your supervisor. If you are a deferred student, it may your name not be there. And don't worry, some deferred students are not allowed supervision because they already had supervision. So that's another thing. But your name should be here with the name of your supervisor. The supervision process, so your expectation from the supervisor are here. Anything you want to know about the structure of dissertation is here. Guideline on dissertation standard and the research process can be found here, and more on the deadlines and etc. marking you can find on the module guide. Is that clear, guys? Should be clear by now. So now I want to show you another thing. As we said, there is a welcome page with a video of me explaining some details. There is the introduction. There is your online session with all the sessions you're going to have today. And if you go to section 1 here, you will see introduction, research title, and proposal. If you go down, you will see there is dissertation topic. So how to choose your dissertation, it's a guide. There is a research proposal form. Please, right now, if you're in Aula, download this form and make sure that, for example, in the coming session, you have this form because the speaker will help you answer questions and write down details. So you can actually download this form now. It's your research proposal form. And then if you go down to research proposal, you would see there is all the guide that you need to do your research proposal. And there is here a video on qualitative primary data proposal, for example, for HRM, secondary data on HRM, another file. If you go down, there is another quantitative and qualitative marketing video. So both of HRM and all of them have videos. And then I also uploaded 2 videos for you. First on the research approach, deductive, inductive. So you can have it's a very nice way of explaining in this video. And there is about quantitative research design as well. So you're gonna have all the information you need to write your proposal starting from today already here. If you go back to the apply, there is a help sheet. For those of you who may say, oh, it's still complicated, there is a help sheet here. In this help sheet, you can do this activity and it helps you to design your proposal in a better way. Okay, and we are not going to have a live session because we already have our live session today. Is this clear on Aula, guys? Yes, 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 yes. I can't find the form. Once again, if you go to section 1, you go on to introduction, research title and proposal. You should see the research proposal form here on Aula. Grace, did you find the research proposal form? Okay, now if anybody wants to ask question, or you can unmute as well. You can unmute your your mics, and you can ask question, or you can write question. I'm here to answer all the questions that you have. Just feel free to unmute yourself. Or you can write down. Completely fine for me. Now, I also want to show you the community page. If you go to your 7012, the community here on the feed part, I share with you everything that I could about each session. So you see that yesterday I shared with you the timetable for our workshop series. And if you go there, you will see all the sessions that is available to you guys. For example, now we had introduction to business and management research, and I think this is small. Let me go and put the other one. So end the slide. Just give me a second so I can open the sessions and you can see the sessions in a better way here. If you give me a second. So okay, here let me share this file. If you go here, you will see that today now we are in the introduction to business management research. So I gave you already more or less an introduction to the module. Now from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. you have to have identifying and justifying a research question or business issue. This can be part of your proposal. So she will be talking about research approach, and she will talking about research and justifying. That means the rationale of your research. Natalia will speak. That is going to be some supervisor of some of you. So it's good that for you to come and get to know her. You're going to have a lunch break at 1 to 2 p.m. And then you're going to have choosing a research topic. And James is going to be there, and he is going to have a ex-students that now is an industry expert that is going to come and tell you how he has chosen his own research topic. So it's going to be very interesting. Later on, the last session will be about analysis and critical of review of literature that is going to be done by me. And this is for today. Tomorrow, the session starts on 10 a.m. by Benoit trying to tell you everything you need about ethic approval. And this is extremely important for you to attend until 12 o'clock. You have an hour of lunch break, and then you're going to have research strategy, design, and formulation of theoretical framework, a very important session again by Dr. Mujahid. So make sure that you are there as well. And then later that day, tomorrow, you're going to have Miss Becky Collins coming from library to tell you how to do research. Remember that your supervisors have access to this file. So if you start asking questions from your supervisor, how do I do research? They have every reason to tell you, I'm sorry, you had a session on that. So go see that session or go back to the video of Becky Collins, because you're supposed to get everything from these 4 days sessions. So on 18th of September, you're gonna have very important session on methodology and analysis. So make sure you're there. I'm gonna lead on the research methodology. So I'm gonna explain to you what we expect to see in your methodology chapter. And Dr. Hosni will be talking to you about quantitative analysis for all of you who wants to do survey. And then you have a lunch break. And again, Dr. Anjay is going to talk about sampling, validity, and reliability. Is technical, but it's important that you, you're there, because most of you have to do sampling, even if you're doing qualitative or quantitative. And then on Monday, 21st, I'm gonna have the last section on quantitative analysis and a closing to our teaching sessions. Remember, there are no more teaching for this module. It's gonna be me having live sessions with you guys, having live session with you guys on the process and on admin, and you're gonna have